Hey, what's up everybody? This is your girl Christina and welcome to my channel DevDivaHacks. And today I'm going to share with you the top 5 mistakes I made before I became a software engineer, and hopefully you get something from this video. That way you're not making the same mistakes and you can accelerate to your career a lot faster. All right, see you on the other side. Alright, so the top 5 biggest mistakes when starting out as a software engineer. Tip number 1, I spent too much time there's a lot of resources in learning how to code, right? There's ProSite, Free Code Camp, Code Academy, there's tons of resources. And sometimes we get lost in the amount of resources that are available and too much time doing research and watching other people's videos of how they become a software engineer. So there's a lot of resources and researching. And then, next you're not really getting started. You're just in this cycle of just researching and just trying to figure out what's the best way to get in this career. What's the fastest way to get into this career? Instead of doing all that, my first tip to you is to pick a learning path that works best for you and your situation and just get started. One thing you got to realize is that everybody's path is different. So one person may say, hey, I got my software engineering job in 6 months. For me, it took me almost 5 years, but that's because I went back to school. So that took a little bit longer. So everybody's path is different. So you just got to pick a learning path that works for your situation and just get started. The sooner you get started, the sooner you can be on your way to become a software engineer. Number 2, my second biggest mistake I made early on is try to learn too many technologies all in one time. Because you can see all the time on Instagram or on Twitter, or you're talking to your peers and you're like, oh, I'm learning React, I'm learning Python, I'm learning CSS, HTML, Firebase, cloud technologies. There's just so many technologies out there. It's very easy to feel overwhelmed and feel the need I need to learn everything all at once, which is false. So my second tip to you guys is make sure when you are, as you're going through your journey of learning different technologies, is to specialize in one language and a framework. The reason why I say specialize, because there should at least be one programming language and technology that you're really, really proficient in. Maybe you did an internship that involves using SQL Server and .NET. Kind of like that was my experience. So you can put that as your resume, and you can say, hey, I am proficient in these technologies. Now, it doesn't mean I don't know all other technologies, but I'm not proficient in it. I just know how to use it and I dabble in it. But it's good to at least have that one language and one specific framework that you're really, really, lack of a better term, an expert in it. And you got some work experience with it as well. So number 2, make sure you specialize in something. Because there's a saying, you can be the jack of all trades and master of none. And you don't want to fall into that trap of, a lot of technologies, but you're not really a master of one, really a master of one. So keep that in mind as you're going through your journey. Number 3, another mistake I made early on is not asking enough questions, and not just questions, but good quality questions that would have helped me solve issues a lot faster or solve debugging issues a lot faster. Now I'm looking back on it, because a lot of times it's a fear thing. Sometimes we play with ourselves in our heads. Maybe it's a pride thing. I know for me it's a little bit of a, I don't want to look stupid. I don't want to look dumb. Like if I ask a question and sometimes I feel like, oh, maybe I should have known this already before asking this question, or maybe I should have researched this first before I ask this question. So like a little tip for you guys, when you go through your internship experience, you're going through your internship or whatever, before you ask a question, make sure at least demonstrate that you have done some research first before asking the question. Because you got to keep in mind that when you're at an internship, and you're working with full-time developers, they have their own responsibilities. They're still working with their own schedule, their own task and everything. So you got to keep that in mind. So you want to be efficient, and you want to be able to ask clear, concise questions and let them know, hey, I already researched this, and this, but this is what I do know. Here's what I don't know. Can you answer this specific question? So the real tip here for number 3 is it's okay to ask questions. Just make sure there are very concise questions, and make sure you do some research before you ask those questions. Because a lot of those easy questions you may have in your head, you could have easily Googled it instead of just asking a developer. And I can get more into those techniques in a different video. All right, so that's my biggest mistake. Number 3 is it's not asking enough questions. Number 4, it's okay to Google everything. There is no shame in you Googling. I'm a full-time software engineer, and I still Google a lot of stuff. I still Google CSS. It's okay to Google, because every level, you could be a developer for 20-something years, and they're still Googling. And I realized that, with my current position, everybody Googles. Quick little research. Google is a resource. It's not a crutch. So there is no shame of you using Google. You are not pressured to memorize everything. Because there's no way. I don't remember every single library and framework or whatever. It's just not possible. As long as you know the fundamentals of how you can get things to work or build things, you're good. Google is a resource. Just use it. The last mistake I made early on in my career is overthinking my portfolio projects. Now, what do I mean by overthinking? Overthinking as in I have to create a coding project that's a brand new idea, and it's awesome, and it's epic, and nobody has ever done it before. It's not just a calculator app. But really, you don't have to do all that. In my Pacific portfolio, I use my school projects. For those who are college students, I highly suggest this idea is take your school projects that you already created in your classes, tweak it, make it personal, add a little problem to it, add a different technology to it, and then make it your own project. Recycle and reuse some of your resources. Because all employers care about is, can you do the work? Do you know how to operate this framework? Do you understand the ins and outs of using this technology? That's all employers care about. They're not so focused on the idea itself. Like I noticed during the interview when I presented my portfolio, is all they care about is, hey, can she use the technology? How well does she understand? And that's where the communication and the confidence comes in into sharing, presenting your project. So it's also about presentation too. So at the end of the day, don't worry about coming up with the most epic project for your portfolio. Just pick a project. Like you can Google project ideas, or take somebody else's idea and just reamp it into your personal project. So there's no shame in that. A perfect example is I use a school project as one of my portfolio projects. The project back then, it was an ASP.NET project. It started out as a tournament tracker, and it was very basic. It didn't have any dynamic. It was a static web page that shows brackets. Then I made it better for my interview by adding a database. I did a SQL Server database to add on to it, and I also added some frameworks. I revamped the design of the web page. So those little tinkers like that are okay, because it's your portfolio project, and I'm able to explain it what it is and get it to run and work. And the reason why I created the tournament tracker is because I love sports, and I wanted to replicate the March Madness in this application. So it's totally okay for you to Google and come up with other Google and use your old school projects as your portfolio projects. So I wish I would have done that early on instead of worrying about coming up with the next big thing. Alright, so those are my top 5 mistakes that I have made early on in my software engineering career. So If you really like this video, you got some value out of it, you learned something from this video today, even if it's stuff you already know, you can share it with somebody else who may not know this information. So if you like this video, go ahead and hit the like button. And then if you want more content like this, where I'm sharing more career tips on being a software engineer, productivity, go ahead and subscribe to my channel, DevDivaHacks, and I'll be uploading a video every single Friday. And that's going to help you along your journey to become a software engineer. Now, thank you so much for watching, and you guys have a wonderful day. Until next time, see ya.